We've done a simple roof or lean-to roof. We will go into the different aspects of drawing other type of roofs now. Uh, Leave this on one side, and let's say, for example, we have some walls drawn up using zigzag method, of course. Just draw some funny shapes, some weird shapes. What I'm trying to impress upon you is that you can have any shapes whatsoever, and you can still have the roof command work miracles for you by not manually figuring out how to do roofs over this. Just does all by itself. The Archicad will do it all by itself. But there is limitation, which I'll talk about later. So can anyone tell me why am I not able to edit this particular grade here of the roof of the wall? That's because a grouping is on. So we need to remove the grouping, suspend groups, and then try moving this point, right? Just trying to make it a little bit more flexible. Right, so we have some shape like that. Okay, and I can get this. I can use an offset tool and get this inside a little bit like that. And I'm hoping that you all knew of all these tools that I'm using now, right? So we have like a rocket shape or whatever, any other weird shape, and this geometry is quite difficult. One can appreciate that, and we need to now put a roof over this. So let's do it. Go to roof tool. This time we are not going to use a single plane roof. We are going to use something. We are going to use a four-way roof, which is a multi-pane roof, multi-pane icon here. And we are not going to use the other two options. We're going to use the first option where it's polygonal because we are drawing something like a polygon, like a zigzag shape. So make sure these two icons are selected and nothing else more. You just have to hold your space bar like how we generally do it, right? And see, you're getting a roof. If you do some micro movements, you might get some other shapes. I'm hovering my mouse at different points. Generally, for a given shape of the walls, there may be several options by which you can put the roofs. But if you don't have many options, then Archicad will not show you too many options. It will just show you limited options. If you hover your mouse in different areas, it's not showing you options, but sometimes it gives you as many as 3-4 options. So it's giving you some feedback. It's telling us this is how the roof is going to be drawn. Are you okay? Can we draw it? Just say okay, just hit click. And what it has tried to do is it has tried to draw a roof using equal slopes. That's the whole thing. So it always draws roofs with equal slopes. And for that matter, you can see some ridges are going. The ridges is something it doesn't obey. It doesn't say the ridges has to be always horizontal, but it always obeys that the slopes have to be same. And you'll get precise roof ridges and valleys and heaped ends and everything with equal slopes. But you might get things like this, which is okay because the span is slightly more than this. It has gone a little higher. Okay, and here there is a little bit of a problem because again, I guess some spans are higher on this side than this. So, but it does the job. And then you can actually select this holding shift and change its angle and change its thickness maybe. And then you can draw sections along this. Going to documents section, hold my mouse here so that draws the line. So testing on this side. And we can extend it. I was just trying to draw a continuous section like which can turn on this reach, but yeah, I'll just figure that out and show you later. So if I want to see this section, I think section 3, just draw a section like this. You can see simplified view. See how nice is this. Any doubts about using a magic wand automatic roofs over any area? And the tools, remainder tools uh, like the offset overhangs, adding the roofs, adding edges, making this into a curved line. All these are same as what we had illustrated you here. Okay. So yeah, so everything else is same. You can draw a skylight on top of it using the same method, and everything else is same. Okay, is this clear? So this is how you draw. I can have another shape. So for example, I want to draw a spline, some walls, curved walls using spline. And you want to roof over on top of this. You use the same method. You don't have to have walls to draw the roof over it. So we just have a spline here and I can come to design roof. Both these are selected already. So I just have to hit space bar. Because the geometry of the roof is going to be a little complex, it's taking some time to calculate. It's an algorithm. So every software uses algorithms. It takes a little time to process that. We have a nice roof, so wherein you can see the slopes are same, the ridges are changing, so ridge heights are changing, right? That's very interesting. And then you can use a magic wand and draw the walls if you wish to change the slope of this. Are you with me? Guys, are y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll delete this roof for now because it's taking quite a memory and try doing some other things also respect to roofs. So just delete this. We'll have a simple wall area. We'll have a simple geometry for the building. That. Sorry. So if anytime you've done a mistake like what I've done here, just hit backspace. It will take you one step behind. Okay, so we are going to use the same tool, magic wand, over this, and then it has drawn the roof. Let's do micro movements and see if it's suggesting you any other option. No, it's not. There's only one option how this geometry can be roofed. So click on it. So we have a roof like that. You might want to increase this overhang a little bit. That, what have I done? Not the walls, the roof. And now what I want you all to understand is, now you've done automatic roof, but it's always not, it may not always be a good option. Like, you might want to tweak it around, you want to modify it a little bit here and there. Like, for example, you want to let's say you want to have a little skylight here, for example, little like that Kerala skylight that seem to modify this little bit. Or maybe you want to have a gable here instead of a heaped end. So essentially what I'm saying is, maybe you want to use a automatic command and then modify things. You might not want to start all over again from scratch doing this manually, like this, what we've done manually here. There is no magic wand tool, by the way, for a lean-to roof. Okay, but if you use a magic wand for this roof, you might have something interesting. See, I'm not hitting on it, but I'm just showing you. See, there are a couple of options. I'm trying to show you, it's giving you a different option for the roof part of it. If I hover my mouse over the roof part, it has a different option. If I hover over the slab part, it has a different option, right? If I hover over the slab, the wall part, it has a different option. So that's what I wanted to illustrate you, that sometimes it might give you various options. Sometimes it's for the same geometry, you might get different options. Because these geometries are different, it's showing you different options. That's not the case. Sometimes within the same geometry might give you different options. Okay, it's showing you another shape for the skylight as well. So what I'm trying to say is, for a lean-to roof, you don't have that option, and sometimes it gives you more than one feedback for the roof option. So you want to modify this. So you want to, the simplest thing how you can just cut this roof here is using a command called as split. Yeah, that's the simplest thing. But that will take care of this part of the roof. But if I want to do a little skylight here, then I can't use any of these editing tools. I need to do tools specific to roof, right? You can use combination of tools essentially. So I will use the split tool here. I will just define the split. You need to define, split is nothing but it's like a trimmer. You just trim an object defining 2 points. It's like defining a knife by defining 2 points here. So it will be cut. Why is it not cut? Okay, for it to be cut, it should be ungrouped first. So it's grouped at the moment, and just like how walls also get grouped like this, you have groups also gets grouped. Okay? So we need to click on this ungroup, suspend groups. It's not still working, and let us try doing it now. Still not done. So what I guess is why it's not working is we have suspended the groups, but we have not done one other thing. That is to right click on this roof and say split into single plane roofs. So we need to split this into single plane roofs. And split it into single plane roofs. All this are converted to individual roof elements, fine. And the group still is there. You can still, like, if you want to move things around, and you want to have it as a group, so you can keep it as a group, but within the group you can then actually suspend groups, uh, and then still have them as separate. So essentially, for you to do certain editing options like this, like splitting and other things, which we'll cover later, you need to do that. Which what I did was split. That option is gone because it's already split. Okay, split single to single pane roofs. Now that these are all separate elements, actually I can group it now like that, and I can split it now using split, and still it doesn't work. So probably we need to suspend the groups, and then if I want to cut this, I'll have to select all of these roofs, all of these part of roofs, and then use a split command. So split command and it's selected. So just when you split it, that portion of cut portion where you have put your eye cursor, that gets selected automatically. Then so you don't have to select it again. You just get selected automatically. All you need to do is just hit a delete key and gets deleted. Okay. Did you all understand this? Just text me if yes. If no, I can explain you this again. Please reply an yes or no. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. So let me go ahead. Now I can either keep this as a gable end or I can put a heaped end. But for you to put a heaped end here, you will have to draw a single pane roof using this command here. From here to here, you'll have to, sloping on this side, you'll have to draw single pane roof, and then you'll have to do some editing options within this uh, three roof pane, single pane. So you'll have to do some editing options which I have not taught you as yet, so which we will not do now, we'll do it later. But if you want to, for example, change its um, overhang, you need to increase this or shorten this a little bit. I can actually use an offset, and you'll have to do it since we have splitted it now. We'll have to do it one at a time actually. You'll have to do this here and you'll have to do this one here and match up that, right? So that's possible. I can take this shape, actually I can hold a node and I can move these things inside and then put another surface, a lean-to surface here, but things might look accurate here as you're doing things, moving the nodes around. You might draw an accurate triangle in plan here in this triangular portion, drawing a lean-to roof using the polygon command. You can draw a lean-to roof using this shape, but mind you, this element, this edges will never be joined. It will never be joined. There will always be gaps. So I strongly suggest don't ever mess around with changing heaped ends or the valleys that you get. Don't ever change these angles like this. You will spoil everything. You will get all sorts of weird height differences and other things. Don't ever change it. Okay, I'll show you another method to do this later. Okay. For now, what I want to do is I want to have a little ridge here. I want to remove this heaped end. I want to make this into a gable end, and I want to put a little bit of that Kerala roof here. Okay, so let's start with this. We need to first and foremost remove this part, so I'll hit delete. There will be a little gap here. Now what I can do is I can convert this heap end into a gable end. There is no problem with that. But don't convert a gable end into a heap end. Okay. So because this is fairly simple, all I have to do is I can just hold shift and move my cursor and move that point over here. And nothing, it has no ramifications on the slopes or the point at which the slopes changes its direction. It has no impact on that. So it will not change any slopes. So you can always change it from a heaped end to a gable end. But don't change it like this. You have to hold shift. So I've changed it into a gable end. You can look at the little 3D. Zoom all. There we are here. The slope is pretty much, so we'll leave it to that, no problem. And you want to take it a little way beyond this. Also, you want to have some interesting overhang here. Can do it here. So we are in the editing mode of the roofs. We can do a lot of changes to this. I can change a lot of things. I can change overhangs here. The slope will not change. Slope will only change if you mess around with the valleys and the heap ends, remember. Okay. All right, so we've done one part. We need to put a little, so it's going to be a little, if I may draw using my drawing abilities, It's very simple. You're going to extend this ratio like that, right? And we are going to extend this roof like this. So this line is going to go, and this surface is going to continue into this, and this surface is going to continue into this. So essentially, this means if you can appreciate, if you can uh, convinced, like essentially what it means is this point needs to be moved here, right? So once we move this point to this point, what will happen to this edge? This edge will become like this. So we don't want to make this edge like this, right? We want to maintain this edge in its same shape, but we want a part of this edge to then turn here. So what we will do is we'll add one point, additional point on this edge, which is here, and then we'll just shift this point over here. You're getting it? Similarly, I don't want to move this point here, because if I move this point, this value also will be shifted. You're getting my point? So what we need to do is we need to maybe put an additional point on this edge and just shift that point there. Once we shift that point there, automatically this edge will line up with this. Okay. Or we can't put an additional point on this line. Neither we can put on this line. All we can do is put an additional line on point on this edge. So once we move this point here, this part of the surface will shift here, and this part of the edge will shift here. Is this clear? If it's clear, say yes. Or I can explain this thing to you again. You want me to explain this thing again to you? Just say explain again, or just say yes. A couple of S's should be okay. S, sorry, excuse me. Explain again. Okay, I'll explain this again. So we'll clear the screen, clear our drawing. So essentially, we need to have a roof which is like this essentially, wherein we want to have this ridge extended here. So we need to extend this ridge. That means we need to extend this point from here to here, right? But when we extend this point from here to here, what else is connected to this point is also this reach. So once I move this point, this reach will shift to this, right? And we'll get this as a surface. We don't want this to happen, right? We want to maintain this shape as it is. We want to station this edge as it is, but we want only a part of this part of this edge we want to move. So how we can move this part of the edge of this ridge is just by putting a small vertex here. We will put a vertex not in this point. I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry. Don't move this point. We'll put, let me think. Yeah, we will put a point here. We will put a point here and we'll shift this here. So when we shift this point here, when we shift this point here, this edge of this ridge gets shifted on this, and this edge of this ridge gets shifted there. Similarly, we do the same thing here. We add a point here. We move this point here. What happens? This part of this edge gets shifted to this. This part of the edge gets shifted to this. Okay. Hello, somebody is playing music. Please put it off, please. What's going on, man? It's disturbing me quite a bit. Otherwise, I'll have to mute everybody. Somebody, I think I'll have to mute everybody else if that happens. If you want a little break, don't send me such symbols, this thing. So you just tell me you want to break for 10 minutes. We can break for lunch, not a problem. But I think it was not intentional. It was by mistake. Anyways, so is this understood now? Say yes on the chat. Couple of S.
It was intentional.
Couple of S, please. so that I can go ahead. Let's do this part and we can stop for like 5-10 minutes. You can grab your tea, coffee, or something, some refreshments, and then we can come back in 5-10 minutes. Is that okay? Would you all require a small break and then we continue for a little while more afterwards? Yes, 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 wonderful. So we'll do this part, complete this part, and we'll take a break. So I'll explain you what happens if I move this point. See what happens if I move this point. See what happens here. We don't want to mess with the reach. We don't want to mess with this reach, right? And see what happens if I move this point. We are messing with the reach. So what we need to do is just click on this edge and just click on any one of its edge and then add a little point, right? And then click on this edge and add a little point, right? So we have 2 points here. And all we need to do now is just move this point. Just see, we just move this point in line with this and then shift this. You need to move this point first along this ridge. So hold shift as you're moving this along this. It's not matching up. So hold your cursor on this so that you're able to draw an imaginary line here on this, and then you can move that point onto that. And then I will, no, I'm doing a mistake, sorry. So I will move this, what am I doing? It's not still working, I'm doing something wrong. So you need to put a point maybe outside of this. So I'll do this couple of undos and I'll put this point here, right? And I'll put this point somewhere here. So then I can move. I'll have to put one more point, right? So I'll have to put one more point on this. And I'll have to move this point. So hover on top of this. We'll have to essentially move this one in line with this, in line with this. And then I can move this back down. No, I can't do that. I'm doing something wrong. Let me figure this out. So I'll put an additional point here, put an additional point here. Try moving this and with this, and shifting this point. Not move the reach, 1 minute. I need to move the reach, this line, and then move this here. So this part is sorted out. And I need to move this one here. So we need another, we can shift the same point. Here, just simply shift this point. Yes, now it's, you all notice, and if you look at it in 3D now, we got a little cable, and then of course we need to cut that portion of the roof, which I'll show you next. Is this clear? Should I show this again to you?